You cannot change the weather in Iceland, for example. We had one speaker flying and it was volcano and all flights were canceled. You cannot influence the volcano, So that's the things that are out of our control. And we kind of used to having our peace with it. But at the same time, you can never know what's going to happen next. Other than that, all things actually feel minor because people not being ready for something, you can work around that. You can work with almost everything when you have 10 years of experience. But yeah, the horror stories of volcano, they haunt you.
Welcome to the Rise and Play podcast. I am Sophie Vaux, your host and leadership coach. In the show, my wonderful co-host and I sit down with influential and diverse leaders from the gaming industry to hear about their leadership journey. Not the well-polished stories, but the real stories. The up and down, the breakthrough, and the failures. Or should we rather say learnings? Each episode will transport you into a magical space of vulnerability with our guest. And together, you'll be reminded that no matter how hard it is, you are not alone in this journey and find the courage to keep going. Come and join the ride. Let's begin. Oh, and one last thing, I am working on new ideas to scale our impact on leadership health and consciousness in games. Would you like to be part of the change too? Then let's connect. Now, let's get to the episode. So hi, welcome to another episode of Rise and Play, straight back from the summer and took a little break. And it was a bit of a crazy year for me personally and also summer with Gamescom and everything, but I'm back and I'm very excited about this episode today because not, I would say, the typical focus when I've been focusing a lot on game founders, studios, and here I wanted to focus on another side of the business that is around creating communities, events. And today I have Maria Shirvona. She's the CEO of DevGAMM. And before I talk a bit about DevGAMM and what is DevGAMM, for the context, I was a speaker I think in June at DevGAMM Vilnius in Lithuania. And this is where I discovered a new way of experiencing events. So first of all, something that I'm very sensitive to, I've seen a whole team of women part of the organization, but also, in the leadership teams. I felt a different experience that was very in person, meeting new people in a new place, great quality of content, talks. And so we connected very well with the team and thought, well, why not making an episode about the behind the scenes of what it takes to actually make events, build conferences, because some of us game professionals, we go and walk in the game conferences and just enjoy, the fruits of it, everything that is served on a nice plate. And I'm very curious to understand more of the magic behind conferences and especially DevGAMM. So I didn't know about DevGAMM until I joined, but I realized that it was born in Ukraine, actually in 2008, so quite some time ago. And I'm curious to hear the history. And as a game conference uniting industry professionals focusing on Eastern Europe and beyond, and now it's been 15 years. And well, we talk more about how is that conference different today, how it was. But let's begin and leave that to you, Maria, to maybe introduce yourself and how you got to work with DevGAMM and what was your history with DevGAMM.
Oh, thank you, Sophie. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored to represent here DevGAMM and the whole community of conference organizers, I would say. So my name is Maria. I'm born in Ukraine. So I started my career in game development 11 years ago. Yes, 11 years ago in a mobile gaming publisher. And then also my journey with DevGAMM started. I went from doing a volunteer work, being PR manager, marketing manager, program producer, then to second in command. So I became COO of DevGAMM. And this year, in January, I was appointed CEO of DevGAMM. So now I have, a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, a lot of new tasks, but I'm really excited because I've grown with this company and I've seen it all. I've seen almost all, because you mentioned that we started in 2008. Yes, and that's the part of DevGAMM that I haven't been to, but it started as a community of Flash game developers. So our founder, Larry Kamalaeva, she's also from Ukraine, and she was a developer. She wanted to connect to fellow developers, to talk to them about Flash, about doing animation and stuff. And so she started those gatherings, and it, like all the best things happen, it happened in garage. The first edition was in garage. We usually share that photo on stage during the opening speech, but it has grown immensely from what it's began as a community. It's still a community focused events 15 years ago, like afterwards. It's still focused on developers, on uniting, on sharing information, on being open, inclusive, and being about fun as well. So that's briefly in a few words about us, about how we are. I'm happy to tell you more. Just let me know what you want to know.
So I think it's interesting to look at maybe the history of DevGAMM. Of course, more relevant from the time you've joined, but of course, if you do have a context even before your time, because a conference, what it is in the end, it is about connecting. You got the community, people, industry, and the industry 2008 was also very different. So I'd like to understand the history of DevGAMM, how you organize the events, when it was focused through maybe the past 10 years, and related to also the evolution of the industry, because I'm sure that that has also influence in to bring it where it is today.
Yeah, so from 2008 to 2013, it was called FlashGAMM, and it was solely focused on Flash game developers and Flash games. But in those years already, Flash was starting, to go away a little bit. The development was growing. And yes, we were more focused on Eastern European communities. So our events happened at that time only in Ukraine, in Kiev, in Moscow, in Russia, and in Belarus, in Minsk. So till 2013, it was very focused, but then it felt like the event was overgrowing the Flash scene. So it was renamed to DevGAMM in 2013. That's exactly the year I joined. It was first DevGAMM and my first DevGAMM as well. So it was still about the developer, the development, indies, AA, AAA, it doesn't matter. It's more on that side, on how to do game, on how to produce them, on how to sell them as well, but all across helping the devs and getting them that feeling of the community. So they have someone to share their pains, they have somewhere to come for advice, to get investment or money. So this is initially what DevGAMM started to be about, and it still is. Though through, many years we shifted, because before 2019, we were only focused on Eastern Europe and trying to build that bridge between the Western European community and the Eastern European community, basically showing, hey, there is a lot of talent in the region. You should come and see. We were going to other events like Gamescom, saying, hey, there are so many incredible Ukrainian developers or Belarusian developers. You should come and see them. And then, everyone knows that COVID hit and events were hit very hard because nothing we could have done in person. We switched to online. We did a lot of experimenting online. We did events like up to 2,000-3,000 people with very good speeches, talks, also some networking opportunities, but it was still not the same. And so we were happy to get back offline. But it's also happened at the same year, like the COVID ended the same year the war started. So for us, it was like 2022 was the hardest year we had to go through as a company, because we lost all of our 3 markets in one day. So basically everything that happened in between Russia and Ukraine, and us being Ukrainian team, it was like heartbreaking. It was really, it's very hard to describe those emotions and how it influenced the company. But as a very agile team, I would say we have to pivot. We have to find something new to do. So we switched our operations to Europe. We started from Eastern Europe, Lithuania, where a lot of developers from our community went and established businesses, also to Poland. So those were our 2 first markets. And then we kind of always wanted to have a Western European presence. So we were looking for the community that could use us, could use our expertise working with emerging markets. And then we connected with Portugal, and it's exactly, our event was exactly they were looking for. We connected, we started our event there, and our second edition is going this year. So yeah, Lithuania, Poland, Portugal, this is our new homes, I would say. But still, as I mentioned, the community goes first, and the atmosphere that we're trying to create of like, inclusivity, diversity, like showcasing the best creativity out there, it's still there. It doesn't matter where we go. It's still at the core of the event.
I'd like to hear more about the team behind DevGAMM and when both events happen, if you could remember vividly those moments and who was involved in getting to that decision to relocate, the timeline. So I'm interested as well in, that particular time because it's so difficult, but I think also a lot of learnings are here as a resilience of you as an organization in where you are today.
Yeah, so for the past several years, we've been a team of 13 people.
Wow.
Yeah,
So small.
it's a small team. Though people say that we are a big team, and sometimes people say, hey, what do you do the whole year? But, really three events the full year actually takes a lot of time and effort. But yeah, remembering the start of the war, we were a team comprising of Ukrainians, Belarusians, and we had one Russian guy in the team at that time. We've already been, remote team. We've never had an office anywhere. Legally, we usually have to say this, especially because we did events in Russia, but legally we've always been in US. This is, the disclaimer that we have to say every time. But when the war hit, we were kind of lost. We were planning show, in Moscow, in Kiev, and actually in Vilnius. So there was no Belarus at the time because Belarus was already hit by 2020 protests, and we decided we do not want to move back there, because of that. So having people in Ukraine, our first priority was not business because I was in Latvia, our founder was in Netherlands, but most of our team was in Ukraine. And we had to gather resources to take them out, to move them to Latvia as it was closer, to Ukraine. And I was there, so we helped them gather their families, their children. So our head of game developers, our designer, our PR manager, they all went to Latvia. So also our finance director is still there. He's still in Ukraine. He's in Lviv. We moved him from the eastern part to western part, so he's safer with his family. But he's volunteering. He helps a lot moving, the win of Ukraine forward. Though at the time for the first, I think, several months, it was March and April, we were stuck. Like we're doing basically nothing. We're not thinking about business. We were thinking about saving lives, helping in the way we can. We helped in many initiatives because then as an event, people approached us and say, hey, can you help with this and that, with volunteering, with money, with finding resources to relocate people. I was volunteer at the Latvian Center for Refugees. I helped there. And as I said, no one was thinking about business. And at the end of April, I think we kind of came out of it and understood, me and Lerica understood that something needs to be done because we have people to feed, we have a team, and a lot of things changed. And we were already going to have that event in Vilnius in Lithuania, but we decided to make it bigger and kind of united across, the Ukrainian topic. We did our first charity auction there. And it was a very good first edition in Europe. I think coming out of COVID and also uniting that, I wouldn't say refugee community, displaced people, as they say, because refugees is not something that you say for the Ukrainians, but people who were moved, displaced. And that helped make a big first edition in Lithuania. And that made us confident that we can do something valuable in Europe. I think from that point, it started a new page in our history. I wouldn't say it's a very positive page because right after that, the industry crisis, I would say, hit us all. And as a new brand, just establishing our presence in 3 completely new markets, it's been a challenge. It's still a challenge. But since we're very resilient, surviving COVID and going through the war, It's, just another problem that we have to solve and have to work around and find our ways to survive. Though I would say it would be good at some point to get out the survival mode and to actually enjoy like a lot the benefits of growing the business. So, but right now it's kind of in the middle of it, I would say.
Yes. Well, thanks so much for sharing. And I haven't experienced it, of course, but I can, imagine how difficult it has been. And it sends me back, actually, at the time, it was like early 2022, if I'm correct, 3 years ago. And everyone was putting the efforts, in helping, supporting. I remember also in Berlin, I hosted as well a few people. So it was a really difficult time. But we forget and not forget, So I think it's important to remember. And priorities, I think, are tested when such serious events happen. And but resilience that you mentioned, indeed, it is difficult, I would say, for any organization, business this year. And I'm curious to hear more about, I don't know if it's about the business model of conferences or your business model. What is the business model for organizing events and timeline, for example, for organize an event? Because I have no idea, like in a very genuine way, what is the amount of work, organization, or even funding to make this happen?
Yeah, so basically for us it's just a bit harder to say, about a very straightforward business model because we haven't been starting from scratch since 2008. So for us, it's always been something that we got from our previous event that we invested into our next event. We don't have any external investors. We don't have any external, support or funding. We are not funded by any country at this moment. Sometimes we get some support, but it's not specifically funded by anyone. We usually work simply as a business. We invest into hiring a venue, into hiring catering, getting, the production done. And then the money that we get comes from tickets and sponsorship. So in terms of business model, it's pretty straightforward and it's nothing, it's all on the surface. In terms of timeline, how you produce events, it's different for every event because some event like GDC, it would take a whole year to organize. The bigger the event, the more time you need for preparations, for answering people's questions, for everything. For us, the perfect timeline would be 3 to 4 months to prepare the show. If it's a new market, I would say a year in advance just to have the idea, from the idea to like getting people feedback, getting people involved to the whole organization, selling tickets, selling sponsorships, also getting the production done. It could fit into 3-4 months. That's why for us, we always plan, events with a difference. So we had Gdańsk in February, we had Vilnius in June, and now we will have Lisbon in November. So that allows us to have the perfect amount of time to prepare, I would say. Yeah, and we have everything in-house. So we have in-house production. We usually very rarely use event agencies, but we use contractors. Contractors are usually local to the countries that we do events in. Also, we have marketing in-house, we have program producing in-house, or all on the side of content, business development department that helps, partnerships and sponsorships. Yeah, and that's basically it's everything that you need. And we have a design in-house, design department that always gets tasks, from every other department. Yeah, we're a small team, but we have a lot going on inside.
Yeah, one can say that, an event, producing an event, it's not a game, but it's definitely a creation, right? You create an experience. Having been now organizing more events, that's why we Rise and Play. That's why I appreciate really the work from the organizer point of view, because I know how much work that is. But also it's so magical, the moments where you can create an experience that gather, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, and they have memorable time, and sometimes new idea, new business form out of that, new projects. It's the impact is huge. I can appreciate really the work and program, because myself as a regular speaker at events, I again sense sometimes on the side of organizers the rush or like the countdown to find speakers and fill up the program. So How early and how easy do you manage to fill up your program with the speakers? Because speakers are also the content, right, at an event. What's your process for that?
Yeah, so it depends from event to event, it's different, but it usually consists of two parts. Some speakers we invite ourselves if we want to aim for specific personality, specific topic, specific, things that we want to have at the event. And the other part is coming from submissions. We have open submissions for speakers. So we usually go through all of them and decide what also fits the program. Depending on the market that we're doing in it, depending on the general topic of the conference, or even trends that are, current, the program can be different. We have a small team. We also use a lot of help from outside advisors from the industry. You can find them on our website. We usually mention them, that help us get everything together and kind of see what topics are more interesting, more valuable, how to shape some of the talks that they are less salesy, I would say, and more on the practical side. That's always a problem because you're looking for a practical talks, but so many companies, so many people, even they want to sell you something. And it's okay if it happens organically, because first you have to share a problem and share the solution, and then it sells itself, I think, in so many cases. But working and maintaining the quality of the content is a big part for us. We've never had paid talks. So we are keeping content different from sponsorships. You know how editorials in some media companies, they do that. So for us, the quality is everything. Also working with the audience, sometimes doing some, social media polls on what do you want to see next, and always getting feedback after the conference is also important to us. We optimize and automate the process of working with speakers, for example. You probably received our emails. We do a lot of that through Airtable. It helps us get submissions, do so many things automatically with, push of a button. And that's what we worked on during COVID times, trying to save, that manual work from our program producer so she can go and aim for more interesting and diverse programs, trying to do more of.
Yeah. And tell me more about your team personal approach to events, because, events, it's like a product, conferences. So everyone has their own flavor, their own name, their own content, speakers, and so on. Like I know, having been part to many, although I felt different being at DevGAMM for my own, experience. But I wonder how much intentional that is for you. So maybe for people who don't know what DevGAMM is, how do you differ from maybe the other conferences in the region?
We always try to create, that atmosphere of being welcoming, cozy, friendly, because that's who we are. That's how we hire people. They have to, share our values. And one of the things that we have in the team and both reflected in the event is we're trying to celebrate individuality, individual approach, creativity, to have everyone heard when we are creating the event within the team, but also sharing the same with the people that are joining our event. You can be individual, but you also can have that sense of community, community, collaboration. You will be accepted, you will be included in every conversation. Doesn't matter who you are, volunteer or, CEO of a big companies. They all interact within the event. We sometimes say it's like controlling chaos, but that's the feeling we are going for. It doesn't matter if it's summer or winter event, so that's at the core. I would say that's at the core.
Yeah. And can you talk about the composition of a team? Because I connected with few members, Christina and Paulina, and now you. So it's already like 3 women. And for me, I was so happy to be an expert. And we met in the industry. I mean, we are not a majority in the industry. I wanted to hear a few words or so about the composition of your team.
I'm actually trying to count. We have 7 women now on the team, so out of 13 people, so we are majority. Yeah. It didn't happen, I wouldn't say it happened intentionally. So we're a small team, and we usually, when we look for a candidate, it's more of, does he or she fit our values and has a professional capacity to withstand, the stressors of the event. But it just happened because Lerica was a female founder. We were doing this together for many years, and girls gravitate towards us because we also allow them to have, I wouldn't say allow them to have the voice. Our girls, they have the voice. They are very loud if they want to be. So that's actually what we are looking for, is a strong female vibe that can work at the same level. And at the events, it doesn't matter. I think at the events, it matters even less than in so many companies, because either man or woman, they all can be, friendly, approachable, and have experience with hospitality, because events are still the hospitality business from one side as well.
Yes.
So as long as you can help the attendee with anything that they want and being friendly around it, you're probably going to be a good event organizer. I'm joking. It's not just like that. But, that's the character that we're going for. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a lovely time, and I really loved it when I was in Vilnius. And I know, now if I have the occasion, I would join again, because I felt very comfortable. And sometimes, conferences can be really overwhelming, but I felt really among friends, although I didn't know that many people, which is a funny thing, But I felt really I feel safe. I felt very in my group with new people. And I made actually very good connection there. So again, congratulations for that event in Vilnius. It was one of my best events this year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And actually, I'm so happy to hear that you got that vibe of being included, even knowing not that many people, because that's exactly what we're going for. And we're trying to create formats to kind of help that, but it either happens organically or doesn't. So it depends on also the people that you're inviting. And I'm happy to hear that, DevGAMM Vilnius was a good experience for you.
And before we talk about what's coming next, because there are exciting also events lining up, what are things that can go really wrong with events? You have 10 years of experience. What are nemesis for you as an organizer for events? I'm very curious about that, actually.
We can survive almost everything besides, a natural disaster and a war. Other than that, you can work around it. Two horrors is no one came. So no one showed up for the event, and that's the first horror. And you never know how many people will show up, and that's unpredictability. That's an anxiety and a stressor of itself. But also something happened to the venue at the venue, and you don't have a place where people should meet. But that's actually can be solved if it's not a national disaster. If something like that happened, you cannot change the weather in Iceland, for example. We had one speaker flying, and it was volcano, and all flights were canceled. You cannot influence the volcano, So that's the things that are out of our control, and we kind of used to having our peace with it. But at the same time, you can never know what's going to happen next. Other than that, all things actually feel minor, because people not being ready for something, you can work around that. You can work with almost everything when you have 10 years of experience. But the horror stories of volcano, they haunt you.
I know the spirit, because it was such a scale of a natural disaster, and somebody didn't show up, the speaker didn't make it. So it's really perspective, and I think it's very refreshing to remember that to yourself, because there's so many things we get stressed about, and I'm sure events, because you deal with a lot of people who have their own life and things, where you can stress about many little things that don't go according to the plan, but your attitude is telling a lot about, you've seen a lot, and then you have system on how to manage that, you and as a team, And I want to share a funny anecdote, because now I remember for the Vilnius event where I was a speaker, I was opening talk, that kind of event, because I was giving a workshop in Paris, and too many things going on, and then I missed the flight, and then I was in panic. I was really feeling so bad that I couldn't make it to your event, and I was I feel so bad for you as well. And I remember I was writing Paulina and saying, okay, I will make it, but I will not make it for my talk. And then she was calming me as well to say, it's okay, we will figure it out. We swapped the talks and everything was sorted out. And I was relaxed when I was there. She was calm. And that was also a very nice part of the experience. So I hope I didn't stress too much your team, but that was an example where, okay, everything was fine in the end.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like Polina didn't stress. It's just she actually knows from experience that you would be stressing a lot more. But we had a lot of experience with that and changes in the schedule and how to do that, how to inform people on like what's going to happen. We have even substitutional speakers sometimes, 2 or 3 for the event, because we know some people cancel last moment. Some things happen in life. So we always ask several speakers to be there, just in case, prepared with the talk. They might not necessarily speak, but they will have that. You mentioned the things that can go wrong. And right now at our LinkedIn, we're sharing DevGAMM horror stories from the perspective of every employee. So if people are interested what can scare us, they can go on our LinkedIn and see, DevGAMM horror stories. Because one day we decided with the team that we want to share that because we were talking a lot, the things that went wrong. Say, let's share that. And it was a whole document, with our scares and with everything that we were afraid of. And, it actually was kind of therapeutical because, as you said, like when you see natural disaster, at the same time, the post didn't went on time, you're kind of, changes the perspective. But at the same time, you understand that for the person, for that specific, manager, post not being on time is kind of huge. And you have to support that, and you have to see what people are, as a manager, from my perspective, what people are worried about and support them and see when the mistakes are made or was it something that went wrong. So the feedback loop also helps. It was very helpful from management perspective, sharing those things that can go wrong as well. Yeah.
It's an amazing practice, and everyone like working in teams, sharing the horror story, what can go wrong there. Because there's actually a mental process that happens when you are acknowledging something that could go really bad. Sometimes you just have to push it that far, like accept that it may happen, and then the fear kind of disappear because you've already accepted that it may happen, and you may even act to do the things maybe to prevent or to minimize the risk of the consequences when it happens. So it's a very helpful exercise. I call it fear setting in coaching, but you call it horror stories. I actually like that version because it's more gamified, So this is a very nice one, and I'll check it out, of course, because it looks interesting. You read that?
Yeah, facing our fears, it's very important. I agree. And I'm really happy that we did that and also shared it publicly, because we see so many people can relate to that, even if they are not from organizer's perspective, event organizer perspective, but if they're marketing manager, and we have that on the team, or if you're a designer, and it doesn't matter, you like facing the same fears within different verticals, different industries, different companies as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And at last, let's talk about the next exciting thing for you. How is the organization with the Lisbon event? So tell us more. When is it happening? What are you still looking for at this stage? How can we support?
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me talk about the event, because that's like all I want to do all the time. DevGAMM Lisbon is going to take place on November 14, 15. It's actually not based in Lisbon itself, but in Cascais. It's a very nice small city next to Lisbon. And we're going for that full-on luxury 5-star hotel oceanside vibe. Yeah, and that's completely different from what you've seen in Vilnius. And we are trying to create those different experiences. So you come for DevGAMM and you're surprised. Yeah, and now you're kind of feel bad for missing it, right?
Yeah. I make it like you saw me on Hotel, like seaside view. You completely get me there.
Yeah, we should talk about speaking opportunities. Yeah, but that's kind of how we wanted to highlight Portugal, because it has so many things to offer, but also being next to the ocean and having, golf courses next to you and experience those golf masterclass that we did last year and also doing this year, and some VIP activities like dinners and other like trips. So this is a big part of Lisbon event. We also have the first time we're using Meet to Match as our business networking tool. Despite the relaxed vibe of, 5-star hotel oceanside, we still want to focus on business a lot and networking, creating those opportunities. And the companies and the people that come there are more of a decision-making level, since the setting kind of helps with that. And our VIP tickets and activities, they help with that as well. Though focusing on business, we're also never forgetting the indie development scene. This year, we're doing a huge contest with 100K cash prizes. And people are saying, hey, is this real? Is this real money? Because that's the feedback we're given at Gamescom. Like,
Really?
no one gives money. Yeah, no one gives money for free these days. And we're saying, hey, yes, of course, you will not get all 100K. It's like the maximum price would be 25K, but it's the whole prize pool. And a lot of developers, especially with the teams under 50 people, they can get like a lot with that. They can get some, outsourcing help. They can also pay salaries, So this is big, and applications are free from globally, so it's not just focused on Portugal, and you don't necessarily have to be there. So this contest is heavily focused on indie developers, which are a big part of our audience as well. Also, content is going to be great. And I know that when this podcast is going live, we already announced that John Romero will be the keynote of this year's edition. Yeah, so
wow,
it's going to be a pretty big one. And the names of companies like Ubisoft or Guerrilla Games, a lot of AAA companies, as well as AA or indie developers who's going to be sharing their stories in the content. Yeah, everything that you would expect from a business to business event. Meetings, showcase, sponsors, expo, and maybe some sunset apparel, but that's a spoiler.
Yeah. That's what matters. So, wow. I think it's only on multiple levels, but I want to summarize for the listener. Listen carefully. So, a few keywords here. We have a 5-star hotel, a seaside view in a beautiful sunny place of Portugal, because it's not like the Lisbon, as you know. Also, a very meaningful prize for indie developers. I've seen also a discussion around the jury and awards, so it's real. And it's money that can really help your business. So this is totally the event for indie developers, or if you know some who could participate, then please share this event. And we've done a big name and big social proof. So it seems you have all the ingredients for a great event to happen. You sound very ready, actually. 2 months. You said 3 months to organize, but you're ready early.
Yeah, we started, for Lisbon this year, we started pretty early. We started in May selling tickets. So we kind of running ahead of time. We're happy with that since it allows us, to work on the next show in Gdańsk in February. So we're already doing some parallel work for those events. We're trying to build our pipeline like that. But basically, yeah, Lisbon, if you want to join, tickets are on sale, sponsorships are on sale, speaker opportunities are still open. And yeah, free submissions for developers for the contest is also an important part of the event. Yeah. So for everyone who's going to listen to us, I'll be happy to share a 15% discount of every ticket type. So DevGAMM 15. You can use that, buy the tickets, and join us in that amazing settings. And yeah, this discount might be another, argument to do that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for sharing that opportunity and offer, because it looks already, even with all the discount, an amazing event. And here there's a really good overlap with the audience of the podcast, who are studio founders, quite also many indie developers, would appreciate for sure this opportunity offer with a network. So I'll make sure to put it in the show notes and something later on after the episode is live. We're wrapping up, and I have my hand already in this for another year. Is there something I didn't ask you? I should have asked you, but you wanted to share with us.
It's a good question. I actually love to talk about, how the events are made, because behind the scenes is something you don't see. But basically, we're behind the computer all the days and having a lot of calls. But what I also wanted to share and kind of remind people who listen to this podcast, don't forget about the work-life balance. Event organizers are usually, overwork. We're crunching all the time. Me and Larry, our founder, we know that from experience. But that's the kind of experience we don't want our employees to have. That no weekend work policy and stuff like that. And I urge everyone, who listens to the podcast, kind of take a rest from time to time. Enjoy the events, not only from working perspective, but also, from relaxing and taking time, just to take it all in and get a good wind of Portugal and Lisbon on your face, but yeah, to relax as well.
Thanks for reminding those words and those very caring words. And I think like something I identified for sure in, your personal flavor to events, because events are very overwhelming. I have to say, like sometimes I run away from events because I'm tired. But there's something that, from my experience with the one in Vilnius, you've managed to create the right mix of leisure while doing business. That is a value in itself, where people can have fun, enjoy themselves, and doing business. That's the best combination. And I think that's really what you're creating here with those very well crafted events with personal care and touch. Maria, it was amazing to know more about the story of DevGAMM. I knew that I would discover things that would make me like it even more, and especially the team and the people, the heart behind the business. So thanks a lot for sharing all your story and horror stories.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care as well. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for listening to this latest episode of the Rise and Play podcast. We keep growing our community of conscious leaders across the industry and beyond. If you want to join this movement, please share the podcast with other conscious leaders, because we have so much more we can learn from each other. And if you want to accelerate your growth, I offer creative leadership coaching and workshop, plus other free resources that you can find on riseandplay.io. I can't wait to connect with you. Have a great week, and remember to take care of yourself. Until the next time,